What's up, guys? I want to speak a little bit about taking responsibility and avoiding responsibility. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this because today is actually my 30th birthday, November 2nd. And last year, like many years before that, my 29th birthday, I slept in my car that night. I was homeless. I was in between opportunities or whatever. I was cold. I was lonely, and I was feeling sorry for myself. Right now, I know now, and I kind of started to put it together at that point that the reason that I was there in that situation was because I had been avoiding responsibility. You know, so there was really no way for me to get out of it until I accepted responsibility in some way. And part of being homeless is not wanting to take responsibility for a job or for bills or for all this kind of stuff. So one of the first moves actually after that was to come up with a plan to get a place to live, to get a house, and accepting the responsibility of the bills and all this kind of stuff. And since then, I've taken responsibility on an account here on Instagram. This is on YouTube, but taken a responsibility for an Instagram account that actually has an audience that kind of demands that you take responsibility, demands that you don't abuse it. And I do think that it's our personal duty in life to be responsible anyways, to be responsible for our own success and our own happiness and our own relationships and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people like myself who like to look outwards and like to make excuses, and like to think that the world owes us something or that anybody owes us something. And all of this is avoiding responsibility. We just made a video earlier today about insurance and the insurance scam and how so much of that could be avoided if we took responsibility for our own health and if we took responsibility as a society rather than outsourcing that responsibility to some body like an insurance company, right? So, and even in this business too, there's a lot of people who come to us for help and they say, I have this problem, and I want to do something about it, but, and there's this but, and then it's, in my mind, there's a silence, like, what do you mean but, right? The but is, it's your responsibility to figure it out, right? And I'm talking about excuses like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the, right? And this is like, well, we have to pay for our supplements, we have to handle our life as well. And a lot of people don't understand that it is actually based on their own responsibility. Me, there's been plenty of times where I couldn't afford, my supplements, and then the reality of it was that I had to cut other things out. Supplements are more important than marijuana, for instance. Supplements are more important than a dinner out. Like it was up to me to get what I needed because I knew the importance, because I didn't want to be in pain, right? I was in pain. Supplements got me out of pain. It's my responsibility to upkeep that. It's no one else's responsibility, right? I mean, maybe I could call my mom and say, "Hey, mom, can you give me some money for supplements?" Maybe she will, but that's not a sustainable action, right? The sustainable action is to take responsibility for your life. And this is the same in relationships and all this kind of stuff too, right? Those problems that I was facing last year, right? The homelessness faced by taking responsibility, right? The loneliness. Loneliness is a state of mind, right? I wasn't truly alone. I had friends, I had people willing to help me, I had opportunities, but loneliness is a state of mind, right? People who are lonely aren't usually alone. And there's a lot of people who are actually physically alone who are not lonely, right? This is taking responsibility. And believe me, actually, when you do take responsibility for your life, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work to be successful. It's a lot of work to be a good parent or boyfriend or student or whatever. And when you're actually taking responsibility for your life, you really don't even have that much time to feel sorry for yourself, right? You don't have that much time to feel lonely. Truly, you're busy, right? And when you do become busy and you do become focused, it's actually very hard to interfere with that. It's very hard for people to get my attention, for instance, right? As a lonely person, now it's very hard for people to get my attention because I'm focused. It's because I'm responsible. I'm taking responsibility. This is my birthday here, and I'm doing work right now, right? And part of this is that I actually do enjoy this work. It is actually fulfilling. Taking responsibility is actually fulfilling. I believe it's actually one of the keys to fulfillment. I don't believe that you can be fulfilled or happy without taking responsibility. A couple of weeks ago, my friend asked me, what would your perfect day or life look like in the future if you could paint it? And I couldn't really come up with the details, but I thought about it for a second and I said, a lot of responsibility. What would the perfect day be like? what would the perfect life be like? It would be a life with a lot of responsibility, right? And it doesn't mean too busy to enjoy the things in life. It means that you're actually taking responsibility for life, and you get to enjoy. You can smell the flowers or not smell the flowers when you're doing whatever, right? You don't have to go on for a walk on the beach to enjoy it, And when you're doing business and stuff, there's plenty of opportunities to go to the beach. There's plenty of opportunities to whatever, and no matter what, there's flowers to smell. It's up to you whether you actually do that or not, right? This is the mindfulness. Now you got to take responsibility for your own personal well-being, your own personal mindfulness, right? It is up to you whether you smell the flowers or not, right? It's not up to life having these magical circumstances that's going to make you happy. It's up to you to make yourself happy and to design a life that makes you happy. And then even on your birthday, even when you have some other things to do and other people to see, you still actually have the drive to do work, right? Because the work isn't work if it's fulfilling. And I do believe that when that work is based on responsibility, it is fulfilling, right? And this going clocking into a job might not necessarily be fulfilling, but it might be part of what you need to do to pay the bills, and you can feel good about that, right? But either way, if you are actually taking responsibility for your work and for your business and for your life, it should be fulfilling itself, right? And obviously, if you're stuck in a situation, put that word aside, but if you're in a situation that you don't like, you're in a job that you don't like, now you have to take responsibility to get out of that, right? I'm not saying that you have to just enjoy every single day, right? It was a long grind over this past year to get where I am right now, and I'm not mega successful, but I'm 10 times better off than I was last year, right? And that increased comfort, by the way, again, it doesn't necessarily automatically bring increased fulfillment. It doesn't. There's plenty of people I know who make a lot more money than I do, and they're not happy, right? And it's been part of my goals to become happy and to figure this out. And it really was only even recently that I did understand that responsibility was behind it all, right? And go even further, to relationships and that. One of my biggest problems was insecurity, right? Insecurity, fear of abandonment, fear of inadequacy, right? Fear that I'm not good enough, basically, in other words. And a lot of people have this fear that they're not good enough to be a successful business person, fear that they're not good enough to get a promotion, fear that they're not good enough to whatever, get the girl of their dreams or whatever. And I had to realize that it was actually my own lack of responsibility that caused that inadequacy, right? Why would I feel inadequate? There's usually a real basis for that in reality. Well, if I wasn't bringing value to other people, I wasn't taking responsibility for my own life, I wasn't taking responsibility for my own happiness, why would anybody want to be with me, right? You have confused motivations in that way. I used to make art, for instance, and basically only to put it on Instagram. And I knew that this deep down. I'm like, this isn't right what I'm doing. I'm not doing this for the right reasons, And I knew that if I wasn't going to put it on Instagram, I probably wouldn't even bother doing it. And that takes away from the way that I used to do it, which used to be for myself, right? We can get caught up in things, and it was actually once I realized that I started to enjoy the process more, and I started to do things that I didn't even bother posting on Instagram, and do things that I know wouldn't even look good on Instagram, so I wasn't even thinking about that from the start. And it's the same with taking responsibility for the Instagram accounts and whatever. There's a lot of people that get answered, that we're not going to make any money off, right? Maybe they're already byproducts somewhere else, or they're part of the company in some other downline or something like that, or they're in a country we can't even ship to, right? We can't even ship supplements to Germany, and we're still going to help those people because it's that responsibility. Now that responsibility, again, it's fulfilling itself. It's fulfilling when somebody says, thank you so much for helping me, despite the fact that you're not going to make any money off this, or despite the fact that you don't get paid enough to justify these actions, kind of thing, right? We don't get paid necessarily for being on Instagram. We get paid off of product purchases and stuff like that, and we know that not everybody purchases, and it's got to be okay, right? This all ties together. There's a lot of people who won't do the work unless they're getting paid for it. Meanwhile, when you do take true responsibility, not only do you get paid for it anyways, you do a good job because you like doing it, and because that gets you better at it and all this kind of stuff. But then also, not only do you get paid for it, right? but you actually get fulfillment from it. And this is kind of the point. It's that the payment is not the fulfillment itself. And when it comes to payment, those of us in business, I think, understand kind of across the realm that you get paid for the value that you bring to the market. You don't get paid for the work that you do, right? And the value is tied into the work. You need to do work to, market the value. People need to know and understand the value before you're going to get paid for it. But there's also plenty of people who are very successful without really marketing. They did a good service, did a good job, loved that service, or had enough motivation to do it, maybe for the family or whatever, and word of mouth spreads, and they build a successful business on that principle without marketing. It doesn't really matter how it happens. It's still based on responsibility, right? There's nobody who's going to really put the solid work in, without taking responsibility, or else it's too much work, right? It's easier to be homeless, believe it or not, than it is to take the responsibility of upkeeping a house, paying for it, choosing to base somewhere or something like that. So I think kind of the main point here is that fear is sort of on the opposite spectrum of responsibility, and a lot of us base a lot of our actions on fear, and it's kind of a common thread through the way that I like to explain things is to avoid fear as much as humanly possible. And by taking responsibility, you automatically are less fearful. Insurance, for example, if you're fearful that your house is going to burn down, it's easier just to pay the insurance. And if you take responsibility for your own life and your finances, and you're confident that you could pay for the damages in the event of a disaster, or pay for your leg being broken instead of paying health insurance, it's a much better feeling. And then obviously you've built the financial foundation to kind of do what you want in life anyways. And this, again, doesn't mean just traveling all the time and staying on the beach. By the way, most of the most successful people I know, they're basically addicted to their work, right? And it doesn't mean addicted and stressed. It means that they enjoy it. They don't want to stop doing it. They don't want to take too much time off. And when they do take vacations, like I'm taking a vacation right now, I still want to do work, right? It would be the same with like art. Why would I want to take a vacation from art? And this is how I like to see any job in any business, right? If you see a lot of construction people, I know a lot of construction people that when they come home, they like to build things at home, right? Maybe they could be getting compensated better for their work, right? Maybe they could build a business themselves and be successful that way, more financially successful. But usually when they come home, they like to build things, if they're not too tired or whatever. On the weekend, you see them building things. It's going to be the same with art. Why would you take time off art? Why would you take time off business if the business gives you the foundation for living the life that you want, right? Being able to travel when you want. Now, I've been taking responsibility for this in my own realm, and I'm here on a trip that's not a business trip, and this is a big one for me, right? I used to only really travel for business, and if you don't take time out for yourself and do things that you want to do, then none of it's worth it, right? Taking that responsibility isn't worth it. But at the same time, again, you never really need to escape it completely. Still did some work today, and I feel good about it. So I guess I kind of just wanted to share this because, again, there is a lot of people that I know who avoid responsibility, and there's a lot of people who are on the customer side of my business who are avoiding responsibility for their own health and their own well-being. And there's just a ton of, it's rampant out there in the world that we believe that circumstances, dictate the way that we should feel or whatever, or that somebody else is responsible for your supplements or something, like nobody's responsible for your personal situation other than you. And there's a lot of us who get caught in victimhood and say, yeah, but this happened, but this happened, but this happened. And it's true. Life is hard, and it can be hard to accept. It can be hard to accept that bad things can happen to good people. It can be hard to accept that accidents happen. It could be hard to accept that people die and all this kind of stuff. But it's not anybody else's responsibility but yours to understand that this is the way that it is. You need to deal with the cards that you're dealt, regardless. Some of us get a bad hand. I got a bunch of bad hands in life, and I made all kinds of excuses of why, that those things gave me a bad situation. And I'm saying, no, now I understand it was because I didn't take responsibility for my situation. It doesn't matter what happened. Bad things happen to all of us. The winter keeps coming. It's not going to stop coming. The challenges of life are not going to stop coming, but the opportunities are not going to stop coming either, right? Life is challenge mixed with opportunity, right? Opportunity mixed with difficulty. And a lot of people underestimate that difficulty part of it and assume that the opportunity is something we're entitled to, right? We're just entitled to be paid well for our work, right? Rather than our value. We're entitled to not experience pain or loss or accidents or any of these things, and it's not how it is. Taking responsibility, part of that is understanding, you know, is responsibility to learn that this is how life is, and you have to learn how to navigate it, not blame others, not make excuses for yourself. And believe me, truly, nobody wants to hear it anyways, right? But I can't do this because of this, because of what? You know, you can always do better. You can always put more effort in to do better, and that will give you what you need to have a better life. When you have a better life, you'll be more fulfilled. It seems pretty straightforward, right? But again, a lot of us think that this better life is entitled to us somehow, right? Or that we just keep doing what we're doing and somehow it's going to get better, right? We don't ask for the world to change. Don't ask for other people to change. You got to change yourself. You got to change your own actions. Maybe you got to change your plan. Maybe you got to change your mindset. Me myself had to change all these things, right? And I'm grateful for it. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. I appreciate all you. I love all you. Let me know any other of these long form topics you want me to make. I'm happy to speak on them. Till next time.